Okay, in this video, I'm going to talk about what is the network economy. So the network economy is a theory that I've come up with that I've been working on over the past year and a half as I've watched the way that AI is impacting the way that we all make money. So it's a theory of economics, but it's more a theory of how I believe the world will look post AI revolution. I would actually say that nobody, including myself, has the fullest grasp on how pertinent it actually is. And so with that assumption being assumed, let's take a look at what the network economy predicts will happen as a result. So realistically, it breaks down into a series of axioms that I believe will be the case. And because these axioms are held to be true, that the way that humans earn money and the way that humans are thought of inside of the economic structure will change. So let's go through the axioms. The first axiom is that the cost of creating a new business is going to asymptotically head towards zero. Now, it'll never be actually zero, and it may take, the cost of starting a business used to be enormous. That's why the barrier of entry for most companies used to be that it was just too expensive to compete. This is no longer the case. If we narrow down our worldview to just the arena of bits, which is software, but if we just narrow it down to the world of bits, if you started a computer company in the 1980s, it is so difficult. It would have been so much work. The number of people that could have actually done that are so small, which is why we know most of their names, because they were so ahead of their time, because it was so difficult to do so. And then that trend continues to get cheaper in a pretty predictable formation until the advent or the popularization of AI in 2023, 2022. And then it just goes parabolic because until 2022, it would still be somewhat of a cost to hire software developers, to write the code, to do the testing, to do the DevOps, to put together the design, to come up with a business model that worked. As AI has started to proliferate through the different tentacles of the economy, the thing that it's affected the most is the speed at which you can prototype a product or a service and how quickly you can get out an idea and test if it's good or not and then launch it. So writing code has come virtually to the cost of zero. Making a design has come virtually to the cost of zero. Spinning up a server or being able to serve your application, even before AI, has been heading toward a cheaper and cheaper cost because of the rise of cloud services and web services. That's continuing to get cheaper. And now hiring talent or the operational staff, which used to be very labor intensive, can now be augmented by AI agents or AI employees. And we're still not scratching the surface of how cheap this can actually get. So that's the first axiom, that the cost of starting a business will go to zero. The second axiom is that all of the labor cost, which used to be a part of running a business, so starting a business has one type of labor cost. The second is running a business. So you start up your company, but now you need to run it. That's going to get cheaper. And this is the argument that everyone has already heard, which is AI is going to take your jobs or AI is going to automate away a lot of jobs. This is absolutely true, but there's no doubt about it that AI is making it cheaper to hire people because you need less people. And more importantly, the same amount of people can do a quantum larger number of work. And so I call this the tokenization of human labor, because basically what used to be input labor costs are now becoming input token costs. Now, funny enough, the input token costs are rather expensive as of today, but that's just going to get cheaper. There's no doubt about it. The models will become more efficient. The hardware part of the equation will become more efficient. The infrastructure on which the tokens are served will become more efficient, and we're going to make so many breakthroughs that make the cost of tokens cheaper that's just another given assumption. So human labor cost, which is the operational side of a business, is now going to become cheaper and head towards zero. And then the final part of it, which is the most interesting part, is if these two things are true, if you can assume that the cost of starting a business is heading towards zero and the cost of running a business is becoming cheaper. Well, what would that mean logically? That means an explosion, an absolute explosion in the number of companies. Because A, the cost is cheaper, so people will take more risks because the risk is actually quantifiably less. People that always wanted to start a business will now be able to do it even while maintaining whatever other occupation they have. People that were already running a business but wanted to experiment with more businesses will now be able to do it. Literally, everyone who ever wanted to start a business but was financially restrained from doing that will now at least try. Now, whether or not they succeed is also not the point of this video. They will at least try. The number of companies, the supply of companies is going to explode. Whatever you saw before in terms of software products or courses or digital products is literally going to 1000x. There's no doubt about it. Whether or not they work is a different equation. I'm actually going to get to that in the last part of this video. But the fact that they're going to be there in supply in greater quantities is non-negotiable. Okay, so these are 3 axioms so far that we've understood that make up the core tenets of the network economy. Number 1, the cost of starting a company heads towards 0. Number 2, the cost of running a company heads towards 0. And number 3, by virtue of these 2 things being true, the number of companies explode, the number of products explode, the number of services explode. Okay, then what is the problem statement that created? This all sounds great. This is like an entrepreneurial utopia. But what is the problem statement that gets created if this is true? Well, just logically think about it. We haven't entered into a phase, nor have we even conceived of a phase where the end customer is anything but a human being. So right now, no matter how much AI you use to build your product or run your business, the end customer is a human being or a business which is abstracting a human being. We have not conceived of a way to sell to a machine. Maybe that's coming. I don't see it, but maybe that's coming. But as it stands today, all customers are human. No matter what type of prolific speed that the AI revolution executes my first 3 axioms on, all customers are still human. So now you had, let's just for argument's sake, say pre-AI revolution, 1 business selling to 10 customers. It doesn't matter if that's true. I'm just giving an example. Post-AI revolution, the 10 customers component of this stays the same. The 1 business now turns into, as far as I believe, 100 businesses, maybe 1,000 businesses that are now targeting that 10 customers. So you are now a demand problem. And this is the core feature of the network economy. This is why this is not called the machine economy, or my theory is not called the AI economy. Because all that AI does is amplify the supply, the speed at which you can create supply. This is also true, by the way, in the content space, not just in the entrepreneurial space, not just in the business landscape. In the content space, before, it was expensive to create content. Before, you needed very expensive mics and elaborate editing teams and powerful cameras, and you potentially had to go somewhere to shoot. Obviously, anybody that's kept up with the content landscape over the last 12 to 24 months has realized that's no longer true. Now, you can literally shoot anywhere and have the AI edit for you, fix your sound quality, rearrange your background. It's incredible. And that does nothing to mention on the fact that you can just use AI video generation models to just create the video completely without you even having to use a camera. What does that mean again? That simply means the quantity of supply of content is going through the roof. It's literally going through the roof. And does that mean there are more viewers? Does that mean that there are a 10x, 100x, 1000x more viewers now? Absolutely not. It's still the same amount of humans that are consuming content, and it's just way more content to consume. Okay. And that's the same thing as it's going to pertain to products and services on the business side. So now you have a big disconnect. You have a disconnect between the number of opportunities that somebody has to buy from and the number of people that can buy from those opportunities. So what's going to happen? By virtue of supply and demand, by basic economic law, the price of these products are going to go down because there is so much supply offering the same or similar things, and the demand stays the same. And so if the cost of these products go down, that is where the economists could say that, well, now the demand will increase because the cost goes down. In a lot of industries, that actually is true. And so the one thing is the cost of products and services will go down, but the second thing is also true. the entire budget that was there for running the business, or the fixed costs that were there to get the business off the ground in a previous world, is now going to be reallocated to one part of the business life cycle, which is marketing, or I like to say it, customer identification. Because now identifying that customer is the most valuable, most important, and most expensive part of running a business. Finding the customer just went up in value by magnitudes, by orders of magnitudes, actually. And so all of the value which used to be spent on operations and programming and management and accounting and legal is now to be reallocated into customer acquisition. So now the trillion-dollar question is, can the machines do the customer acquisition? And my belief, and the belief that underpins the network economy, is they can augment the way customer acquisition is done, but they cannot formulate the node connection that ends up finding the customer. That is, in my opinion, exclusively reserved for humans. Because as this enormity of, let's be frank, AI slop, AI-created products, AI-created services comes to the forefront, the value of the human connection that introduces you to that product, service, or idea is going to go through the roof. You will now only trust the ideas, products, and services that were introduced to you by someone that you trust, because again, there's nothing left to trust apart from that. So what I see is a reorganization of all human parts of the labor stack that used to work in operations, that used to work in development, that used to work in all of the costs that are going to be cut, and they're going to be reallocated to what I call distribution, in terms of formulating the network that will then distribute this enormous quantity of products and services. And it's actually great timing, because as they're being reallocated, the value of the distribution goes up, because that's the only cost left. So in a network economy, what I theorize is that the power of the distribution network reigns supreme, that AI takes over all of the production, manufacturing, organization, management, and operations of a business. There is a combinatorial explosion in the number of supplies, and now who you know becomes way more important than what you know. Those who can garner attention and then build trust to be able to distribute all the products and services that are coming down the pipeline will be the winners in the network economy. In all fairness, they'll be the only survivors in the network economy, because everyone else is going to be made redundant. And so this is what we deem the future. This is the vision for the network economy. This is the reality, and this is the economic structure that will govern the world post the AI revolution.